Hello and welcome back. It is me, Ian. Again, I have Jason from the development team joining me for this semi-final where we see Dorinthea against Katsu again. How do you feel this semi-final is going to go, Jason?
This should be an interesting match. Both these players are playing the two most popular decks in the tournament. We saw Dorinthea with 31 people representing it, and Katsu is also quite represented. This is going to be your classic matchup on who is the aggressor, as we already see Luke playing a Steel Blade Supremacy.
That's right. So, of course, we've got Luke playing Dorinthea and we've got Kieran playing Katsu.
Note that Luke is pitching a Glint the Quicksilver, usually a card that's like really well paired with Steel Blade. Maybe he has another one, maybe he has Singing Steel Blade. This is like quite the turn one. Typically on turn one, you don't want to be using too much of your resources, as your opponent will draw back up to 4 cards. But as we see here, Luke just starting things off strong with a rout.
Yeah, I feel like Luke really wants to be the aggressor in this matchup, really wants to get an early damage advantage, and he doesn't want to have to be racing the Katsu player.
This is huge if Kieran doesn't have a defense reaction. Luke also will end up getting an arsenal from the drawing card of Steelblade if this hits. But wow, Luke has the unmovable. He still gets hit for 1, so Luke will still get a card.
He can choose to Refraction Bolter, which it looks like he is contemplating.
It's a bit early for Refraction Bolter if you take into account Kieran will draw back up to 4. But let's see what he thinks.
Now, as you said, it is very early in the game to be cracking that Refraction Bolters.
Wow, it looks like... Wait, what? The card didn't have go again. That's a bit odd. So what we saw there was Luke actually activated Brave Forge Braces to get the Remembrance to push, but he actually didn't have an action point. The table judge must not have caught that.
And we see Kieran leading out with a very standard Katsu play, Scar for a Scar, which of course has go again because he did take that 1 damage from the initial attack.
Yeah, that 1 damage actually benefiting Kieran a lot there. Kieran likely also had that Scar in his starting hand. He knew that if he took 1 damage, he would be able to benefit from that. Now, even though Scar for a Scar is not a ninja card and not part of the chain, Kieran is able to discard a card to grab Flusterfist and put it into his banish zone. Now, Kieran has multiple Flusterfists in his deck, but he doesn't intend on using the head jab open the center combo, instead just using it for a nice 0 cost 4 damage.
And of course he gets to do that search off Katsu's ability from hitting with their first attack card.
We see Kieran's hand is actually very red intensive. He discarded a red Rising Knee Thrust and he pitched a red Wyvern Gust Wave after playing a red Scar. So it's very likely that his last card in hand is not a blue card. Most likely a red card, maybe a red Sink Below or Unmovable. I wonder if Luke will pick up on this.
Yeah, no, definitely very red heavy in that opening hand. So Luke's now just playing quickly here, just straight in with that Dawnblade.
You're going to see a lot of blocking during this match. It's not obvious who the aggressor is, and it really is dictated by the cards they draw and also the iteration they build. As we already see from Kieran has red Unmovable. Not a typical ninja card, but very strong against Warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially having it in the arsenal so you can get around those reprise effects.
Now from Kieran's side, what he wants to be doing is managing the threat of Dawnblade and figuring out on what turns is the Dawnblade not that threatening and taking turns off to do a 4 card attack. As you see here, Kieran started a turn with a card in his arsenal, which was the Strike, which was a red card, and also has like 4 other cards in hand, so we know this is going to be a big turn.
And this is exactly the sort of Katsu deck that Kieran's playing. He's going to want to go wide here.
Yeah, the Dorinthea deck is more going really big on your Dawnblade, but it does take turns off, as we can see by Luke's last turn. He did not have enough cards to manage a big turn, and really gave Kieran a big opening for this Surging Strike, Whelming Gustwave combo that's coming at Luke right now.
It'll be interesting to see where Luke chooses to use his cards to block. Obviously, Mask of Momentum is a big factor when you're playing against Katsu. And there we have that Springboard from the arsenal for 4, along with the Refraction Bolters.
Luke choosing to block for 5. This is because we have Breaking Scales on Kieran's side, and that will get Ramen Gustwave up to 5. But look at this, Manguchi release.
Oh, that is a good hand. Not having to search for the release, already had it in hand.
Having said that, there is a Lord of Wind in the pitch zone, so this can only search for 2 Lord of Winds. And Lord of Wind, as we know it, is much better later on when you have your graveyard filled with these Surging Strike, Whelming Gustwaves and releases. But this is not the case, as it's turn 2 still.
Of course. Again, as we always said though, it's about getting damage done. So it looks like Kieran's just as wants to get on the front foot and really put some damage to Luke early.
Yeah, so Luke probably just has like quite a nice hand. Generally, as both the warrior and the ninja player, they don't want to be blocking too much because it really disrupts your hand. Both warrior and ninja excel at dealing maximum damage when they have 3 or 4 hands, unlike your typical brute or guardian that is okay with 2-card hands. Looks like Kieran is just cycling his Ancestral Empowerment. Note that the block from Luke on the Whelming Gustwave actually turned out to be very strong. Otherwise, Kieran would have been able to push through with Ancestral Empowerment on the Whelming Gustwave.
Very much so. So as we said, Kieran now looking for the other 2 copies of Lord of Wind in his deck.
It's interesting. We'll see what Kieran decides to do with the Lord of Wind. Maybe he'll only search for 1 and use it for Harmonized Kodachi attacks. It's unlikely we'll see Lord of Wind actually played at this point, as there isn't many cards to be shuffling.
Sure.
So he does elect to pick up 2. He could be using 1 for pitching this turn and 1 for just keeping in his hand and pitching next turn. There is no cost to taking 2 other than the fact that it might be stranded in your hand. But Lord of Wind, although a really nice finisher, also is just a perfect resource card for this deck.
Absolutely. And unlike Katsu's ability, the search from release actually puts them into your hand, not your banish zone. So that does give you a few more options.
So we do end up seeing that play of pitching one of the Lord of Winds and then attacking with Harmonized Kodachi. If Kieran's last card is an attack action, it will threaten Mask at this point. Mask only checks if you've hit with at least 2 other cards. It doesn't matter if it's the 6th chain, as long as it's higher. Looks like Kieran is attacking with Lord of Wind. That does put pressure on drawing with a Mask, but Luke decides this is the time to block with Brave Forge Braces. Equipment, they always start on the battlefield, and it's really important to just think about when to use them, especially against Katsu.
Yeah, absolutely. The Katsu matchup really is very important for the opponent to optimize their armor and their equipment.
Now we see Luke also playing a Scar for a Scar. And here's the Iron Song Determination, Warrior's Valor, and putting on maximum pressure. We can see why Luke kept a 4-card hand there.
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge swing.
This match might be over before you know it.
Yes, definitely. This blades are flailing in this match.
We talk about who is the aggressor, but in this matchup, it's not about one person defending and one person attacking. It's more about who's going to get more tempo. And here's where the decisions come in on when should you defend. Because if nobody ever defends in this match, one person is always going to be a favourite. Therefore, the other person needs to put in some defence and really choose your time wisely, Ian.
Absolutely. And Luke definitely wants to get on that front foot and gain that tempo, especially after a big turn that Kieran had last turn.
And look at this. Kieran just blocking with his mask. This is on turn 2/3. That's quite fast and losing the legendary, but I like it, Ian. We already have Luke at almost 20 life, almost the halfway mark, and this mask might not even be doing too much. So stopping that Dawnblade from attacking on this crucial turn when he had dominate. I like this mask sacrifice.
Yeah, and definitely because again it also stops Luke from getting the chance to get a counter on Dawnblade as well, which those counters can really snowball if you don't keep them in check. Again, nice equipment blocking here from Luke on that second Kadachi.
And look at this. And Kieran managed to block Luke's entire attack and still applying quite a lot of pressure with this leg tap.
And that is one of the key strengths of the Katsu deck, of being able to lead out with those Kadachis and then get a couple of attacks off. Means that you can put a lot of pressure on your opponent even with a smaller hand.
Look at this, Ian. Kieran did not elect to use Katsu's ability. He already had a Rising Knee Thrust out of his arsenal, but he didn't discard his last card. Maybe he has a natural chain. I can't imagine Kieran having a 0-cost card in his hand. Let's see if Luke picks up on this.
Yeah, it's quite possible that is a defensive card that he wanted to Kieran wanted to hold on to.
My call here is it's going to be in an unmovable. If it was a 0-cost card, Kieran could have discarded it to use Blackout Kick, but let's see what it is.
So Warriors Valor and Dawnblade again, really applying pressure here, Luke, on these first shots with the Dawnblade.
And you're going to see there's a lot coming from the Dorinthea player. Warriors Valor and Driving Blade, although they can be easily blocked and stop the Dawnblade from doing the second attack, the key note is they have to be blocked or else you will take quite a lot of damage. In this instance, it connected and Luke elected not to attack again, most likely to put a defense reaction in his arsenal. But it is to note that you have to play these attacks that actually threaten more than just their life total.
Absolutely.
From the Katsu side, we have these attacks that threaten drawing a card, which is quite crucial in dealing maximum damage. And from the Dorinthea side, we have these attacks that threaten Dawnblade getting a counter.
And here we go again, and another two attacks with the Katsu into the leg tap. Oh, and another Rising Knee Thrust from hand.
Yeah, Kieran only has 2 of these, and he discarded one early on, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, this is sometimes the deck gods are just on your side.
Also to note, Kieran did use a Spring Tunic counter to play the leg tap, as he only pitched 2 with Whelming Gust Wave.
Yeah, really good management with the Tunic from both players. A lot of the time you see newer players with the Tunic just using it as soon as they get the 3 counters, whereas the more experienced players will really hold on to it to get optimal value out of it.
Having said that, this match is very fast, and if you don't use your Tunic quick enough to then get more counters, you're really just turning your Tunic worse than a cross traps.
Sure thing. Again, I think it's the second time that we've seen Luke pitch Singing Steelblade to play the Dawnblade.
I think Luke knows that Kieran does not have any interest in blocking. We see Kieran dodging the reprise once again.
Yeah.
And this is a bit odd. Warriors Valor did not give Dawnblade go again. Maybe Kieran thought it was a driving blade, but it looks like the Dawnblade did not hit. See if our players actually...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, I feel like...
Our players actually corrected it at that point.
Yes, I think what happened there was that I think Luke possibly thought Kieran had played the somersault from his hand, not from Arsenal, which would have been only for 2.
Looks like we're going to have a judge call here. Oh, maybe not. The players seem to have resolved it by itself. So Luke just placed the card that was at the bottom of their place within line and strike. And it was basically like, well, I was just going to end my turn, put a line and strike in the arsenal and draw these cards. And it looks like the players have fixed it themselves. One thing to note, even though this is quite a competitive tournament, the sportsmanship from these players is incredible.
Yes, I absolutely, and that is one of the things that I've been very happy to see all the way through all the events with Flesh and Blood, is that our community has been really positive and really everyone accepts that it's a new game, and they're playing it with the right attitude, and making sure that it's a positive experience for everyone.
Yep, you start playing this game for the money, but you stay for the game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and just this matchup alone, this is an Australia versus New Zealand matchup. You know, no love lost between the Kiwis and Aussies, but good to see the sportsmanship, that Anzac spirit coming across.
Luke is really on the back foot here. He does not have that much life total to work with, and we've seen what happens when you're up against Ninja without much life. What do those harmonized Karachi do to you, Ian?
Yeah, they just scratch. And now, then those lightning strikes are just massive when you have to deal with Kadachis on top of them.
Yeah. I imagine Kieran either went for +7 and is intending to use the Snapdragon Scalers, or chose go again. But either way, this Enlightening Strike is not the only thing that's going to hit Luke this turn.
Luke is deciding that he's going to mulligan with his Hope Merchant's Hood.
Well, if we look at Luke's hand, he has Razor Reflex, Scar, a Shunt. Looks like 2 Scars actually. That hand does not defend very well.
No, not at all.
Taking into account that Shunt needs another card to defend, that's a 4-card hand that defends for like 8.
Yeah, and especially because he doesn't have 3 counters on Tunic, so he can't even get that free Shunt off a Tunic counter. So definitely throwing all 4 cards back in and hoping for a more defensive hand.
When I see the power of Hope Merchant's Hood here, people have been debating whether or not you should just take the Iron Rod Helmet, the consistent, I will always block 1 damage, or maybe the more variant route of Hope Merchant's Hood. And did his hand get better, Ian?
I can't see what the other 2 cards are, but it's looking it definitely is looking more solid an option than he had before.
He has a Sink Below and a Scar for a Scar in his hand. Looks like this Enlightened Strike was for 7. So Kieran, the magic number 7. So we talked about a magic number 4 because it always gets 1 through, but 7 also gets 1 through against 2 cards that block for free.
Yes.
And look at this, Kieran just discards the defensive card of Flit Flak for a very offensive card of Flusterfist.
Yeah, so Kieran's obviously smelling blood in the water and really looking to push home the advantage now.
If Kieran has a pitch free, it looks like he's just playing Flusterfist here. That's a lot of damage. But luckily that Hope Merchant's Hood did grab a Sink Below for Luke there.
That is the value of Hope Merchant's Hood when it works in your favour.
Kieran had a little bit of a pause after Flusterfist. I wonder if he was thinking about Breaking Scales, or maybe his last card in hand could be the Ancestral Empowerment. Looks like Kieran just really wants to push through damage. So instead of electing to just use his last card in hand, he really wants to wait for a big turn. Looks like it was a sink below. Just Enlightened Strike dealing 3 damage.
Again, still on the back foot though. Luke is still well behind in this game.
Sorry, I stand corrected. It looks like Luke actually elected to draw a card, getting a blind card into the arsenal.
Sure. Kadachi now. This is we're at that point of the match where all those Kadachis just hurt even more.
Well, Luke is at single digits now, and each of the Kadachi is over 10% of his life. Kieran just checking, do I still have Rising Nephros? He's used both of his red Rising Nephros. He only electing to play 2. He also only has 1 yellow one, so it looks like we're only left with the blue Rising Nephros. Might still be good enough though.
Oh.
So note on this, Kieran elected not to use the Katsu's ability. If he did have a Zero Drop, he could have just searched for the combo ender, but he elected not to. Maybe he already has one, or he's just choosing to just be a little bit more passive.
That's right. He's still very much in the driver's seat here. So he is valuing that possible defensive card a bit higher, and just choosing to make sure he has that additional card for the next turn in his arsenal.
For our viewers at home, Katsu is all about chaining a bundle of cards together, and having 5 cards is better than 4, so we see Kieran always placing an arsenal every turn. Sometimes he places a card in arsenal because it's a defense reaction to stop Dawnblade and stop Reprise, but sometimes he just wants to have a 5 card hand to really push through the damage.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. Katsu wants to go wide, and having that extra card really does help.
And here we see the perfect answer to the Scar for a Scar. Flat also allows Kieran's next card to defend for 5, so let's see if he chooses to defend this Dawnblade attack. Maybe take the damage and deal some damage back.
That's right, it does have to be a combo card to get that advantage though. So.
But Katsu is not sure.
No, that is correct. And Luke's had a really tough time this match getting that second attack off from Dawnblade, whether it be because of defense or not having the go again or the resources, and I think this has really been the story of the match, is that Katsu's just been a bit more consistent on his turns than Dorinthea has.
It's like Kieran is just trying to figure out his sequencing. No, Kieran did not use the card in his arsenal. It's very likely it is going to be a more like attack or maybe an attack reaction.
Sure.
See what Kieran wants to do about this.
I mean, we haven't seen any Razor reflexes so far this game. Also, only seen one of his ancestral empowerment, I should say. So. Could possibly be one of those cards. Leading off with that leg tap. So a good start from Katsu.
One thing to really pay attention to is he pitched a red sink below. If Kieran had a blue card, he would have pitched it by now. We see now that he actually had a blue Surging Strike. But those Harmonized Kadachi, they require 0 cost in the pitch zone, so he had to pitch the sink below first.
Absolutely.
Nice sequence in here by Kieran.
Alright, and so we didn't see that card from Arsenal being played, so
it could also be another defense reaction.
It could be.
Considering Kieran did have 2. We see Kieran actually sideboarding into multiple defense reactions. We've seen Flip Flat, Sink Below, Unmovable. He's really prepared for this Dorinthea player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being in the semi-finals really has solidified maybe not a completely defensive strategy from Kieran, but definitely has put a little bit more defense than maybe he would have done against a Dorinthea player in the Swiss rounds.
It looks like Kieran is just quite prepared for Dorinthea, especially with this unmovable,
Yeah.
which was a very good choice considering Dorinthea was over 30% of the field.
Absolutely. Leading out, pitching that Lord of Wind, just going to lead out with that Kadachi.
Yeah, even though Kieran is ahead by over 15 life points, he's choosing to play a more conservative route. He knows that the Dawnblade can at any time grow to double digits and really, really take a big chunk of life
That's
out of
right.
Kieran.
That snowball effect with that Dawnblade. If you let it get a couple of counters on it, it is just very, very tough to get back from.
I like this play. Kieran just elected to use Spring Tuna to just really get the pressure out. And look at that. Luke had to defend with 2 Enlightened Strikes there.
Yeah, that is a huge play for Kieran being able to get those 2 Enlightening Strikes out of Luke's hands, forcing him to have to block with them.
And Luke, having no cards in his hand, was forced to pass. Kieran now has a 4-card hand. He's going to take full advantage of this red Surging Strike.
Oh.
This takes 2 cards minimum out of Luke's hand.
That's right.
And
that is a great way to start this turn.
And Luke is really on the back foot here.
And you see the tempo really has swung in Kieran's favour. Just Luke really only been able to defend the last couple of turns, just purely because the life points is so in Kieran's favour at the moment. Oh, big Enlightening Strike.
One thing to notice, this is not for 7. Kieran decided to draw a card, and I like this. Kieran knows that if he just repeats this, Lucas is going to be blocking with every card. What Kieran really needs is a 5-card hand to just overwhelm Luke, and he chooses to attack for 5 in the line strike. He knows that Luke still might have to block with both of his cards in hand, as we see here. So now Kieran just has a card ready for next turn. And let's see if Kieran's 5-card hand this turn can really take down Luke.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cat toying with a mouse after he's already caught him. Doesn't quite want to kill him, wants to play with him a little bit.
Well, this turn is slightly different for Luke. The previous turn, Luke did not have a Spring Tunic. So now that Luke has a Spring Tunic on free, this does turn on Steelblade Shunt, not needing to pitch a card. So let's see if Luke has a Shunt in the arsenal, and maybe he can try to turn this around by not having to defend with all the cards in his hand.
Leading out with that Kadachi.
And wow, look at that. Surging Strike. That was the blind card of the Minor Strike. That is what you want to hit. Luke taking another point of damage here. Every point of damage counts, and Luke is just really on the back foot here. No, the Katsu's hair ability also triggered here, but looks like Kieran just never needs it. Just natural whelming gust wave.
Wow.
And look at that, Lion Strike 7, this looks like it.
Oh, wow. What a finish.
And that's the game.
That is hard to defend against a 7 attack after a chain of 3 other attacks. Well done to Kieran. He moves forward to the finals. Valiant effort by Luke, though, but he has come up short. And again, it looks like a Ninja is where it is at today. It looks like we're going to have a Ninja final.